Indie Answers Episode 3, Can Your Writing Suck? Now, before I actually get into answering this question, I feel like I should clarify something. When I'm asked what I'm actually asking, when I'm asking, can your writing suck? I'm not saying, can you release something that is objectively bad? That's not what I'm trying to say at all. What I'm trying to ask is, can at any point your writing be considered to you personally, or just in general, not that good? Now, before I fully go into this question with a lot of explanation of my own stuff, I feel like I should probably first of all just say that thinking your writing sucks is not a barrier to entry at all. I don't think. If anything, I think it's quite a good sign that if you think your writing sucks, because it means that you know that there's stuff that needs to be improved upon. To my mind, it's a lot worse if you think that your writing is the best thing ever and that the sun shines out of your asshole because you wrote this amazing masterpiece or whatever. Because chances are, if it's the first time you're writing, or even if it's the 100th time you're writing, and you think that you're just going to get it right first time and everything's going to be great, you're probably wrong. Look, there are multiple drafts for a reason. Not most famous authors even consider like their first attempt at writing a story to be shit. I mean, look at Neil Gaiman. First draft is literally just putting it down on paper. That's paraphrasing. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but that's the general gist. So thinking that your writing sucks, in terms of drafting, I'd say is a good sign, especially with rough drafts or second drafts, because it shows that you know that it needs more work and that it needs work that editing can't actually do, because editing can only do so much. Editing can only really show you that you've maybe spelled something wrong or done a grammatical error. It doesn't necessarily show that you've got a story beat entirely wrong, or maybe it does show you that and you're just too lazy to fix it because you're just like, well, it's already written down, so what's the point? Anyway, the whole process of writing in the first place and the whole process of writing as anyone is that it in of itself is a process. And it's not an easy process at all. It's quite time consuming. It can take people years to write books. So of course, what they first put down to paper, they're going to think is a big pile of dog shit compared to what the finished product is. One would hope. So that's basically just my thoughts on it from that standpoint. From the standpoint of people who want to get into writing but feel like their writing would suck, all I really have to say to you is just try it. Sure, it might suck a little bit in the beginning. I know for a fact that my writing sucked for like the first 5, 6 stories that I even made for like the first 5 years. My writing was no good until I'd say Ruby Rain probably, which was the first book I published. And even now, in hindsight, I'm looking back on that and I'm like, was it that great? But yeah, just looking at it from that standpoint, you never know until you try. Books are Writing books is not supposed to be an easy thing. If it was easy, absolutely everybody would do it. I mean, I know absolutely everybody, quite a lot, or at least quite a lot of people who are that way inclined, or even people who aren't that way inclined, who don't read, try to write, and it's like, and feel like they should be amazing at it first time. But when are you ever amazing at anything first time? Who's ever picked up a violin and done an entire rendition of Beethoven just off the top of their head when they literally have never picked one up before? Because it's a skill. It's something you need to. It's something you need to practice a lot at. And practice does make perfect. Sometimes with stuff that you write, you won't necessarily want it to be published straight away. even self-published. You won't even want it to, you just want it to be for you because it's like a training exercise or something. Take writing prompts, for instance. Those are really good for that sort of thing because you might not necessarily want to write something that you think will be amazing first time. You just want to practice. You just want to get the muscles working because maybe it's the first time you're writing in a while. Maybe you just finished a project like maybe 2, 3, 6 months ago, and you want to get back into it, but you don't necessarily think that you're ready to take on a full project yet. So yes, of course your writing can suck. And bridging that into other people's opinions of whether your writing sucks, um, yeah, of course I can. If people are allowed opinions, and I feel like if nobody's opinion is that your writing sucks or that your book sucks, then you're not doing it right. And I already emphasized this in episode 2, so I'm not going to go over it in too much detail. But yeah, in terms of that, of course your writing can suck. It's allowed to be bad. And now for the final point of can your writing suck? Looking back at your old books in hindsight and your old stories in hindsight. I personally feel like if you're looking back at your old work, like the first draft you ever did of anything, the first be it that or be it your first published novel, and you've published maybe 20 of them since then, I'd say that's a really good sign that you think that. Because sure, it might have been very popular, and it might have been, if you're a famous author already, it might have been what made you famous. Or in the future, if it makes you a famous author, it might be what makes you famous, but that doesn't mean that it's your best work. And everything is all subjective in terms of how you see something as sucking. Just because you think that your first project sucks doesn't mean everyone else does. To someone else's standards of writing, it might be very good. It just might not be as good as, from an objective standpoint, as your more recent works. Which is what you'd hope for in the first place. You're not going to want to be one of those authors that writes something really good from the get-go, and then it sort of goes, then you coast off that, and then it's an incline. That's not what, well, at least that's not what I would want. I'd hate that. That would suck. Because you want it to be an upwards projection. You don't want to be doing the opposite where it goes down in quality. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. If you're thinking of getting into writing and you're watching these videos, thank you for watching. And basically, the advice I'm giving you today is, if you feel like you might want to write, just fucking write. You don't necessarily need a plan or anything. Just open up a Word document, open up a notebook, whichever you prefer. Just start writing or start scribbling or start typing. That's all there is to it. Anyway, that was this episode. Join me next Sunday for episode 4. If you have any suggestions for future questions you want me to answer, please let me know in the comments below, or let me know in my Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook posts. And yeah, and of course, as always, write on.